Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ask Carter, episode 2. I'm so glad you've joined me for another cozy time together. Today we are going to be doing a few patterns as I answer some of your anonymous submissions. And let me tell you, I reviewed these before we started today and I was like, oh wow, these are very, very deep and extensive questions. And so I'm honored. Thank you for asking me. I'm excited to talk about this with you all today. In the honor of fall season, there were a few things that I saw hidden in different galleries, so I'm probably going to bounce around and do different designs. And I thought it was best to start with happy, because I'm very happy that we are entering a new season. I hope you are too. So let's start there. Oh, this one's going to be so fun. It's going to be a big smiley face, I can already tell. But yeah, no, fall season is approaching and I'm very excited about it. What have you been doing to prepare for fall? I certainly have started saving lots of content in July in preparation for what I wanted to do, what I wanted to cook. And that's what I love about the new season is all of the fun new things you can try and welcome in and be a part of. So I hope you are enjoying your time. So let's talk about the first submission that we received. The first submission says, I would love to hear about your experience taking up piano again as an adult. Highs, lows, benefits, challenges, all that good stuff. And are you still practicing and or taking lessons? Well, if you did not already know this, I kind of had this moment that hit me when I came home from work a couple of years ago, where I was sitting on the couch watching TV. This was late night after work, and I thought to myself, I said, why did I ever quit piano? Why did I do that? I used to take piano lessons from the age of 6 to 7, and so for about a year participated in these lessons and did a entire piano recital in front of people. And I think that's actually what I did not like about piano, was the idea that I had to go perform in front of people, even if I didn't feel ready like you were just supposed to. And so I ended up giving it up. And now I'm an adult, and I wanted to go back and revisit it because I did love the piano. I loved it a lot. So that same night, I looked up a local place that I could find someone to teach me and do lessons, and signed up right then and there. They emailed me back the next morning and I signed up. I went to piano lessons like the next week, and it was so great. I loved my time there at this music academy. They were so nice and just very accommodating to me as an adult with my schedule. So to answer your first question, being an adult, I would say that has been my hardest part of trying to work in, is practicing the piano. But it's really something that you have to give effort to. Like, you have to clear time and say, no, I'm going to practice the piano. You know, as a kid, you have so much more time than what you realize. And as you age, I think you look back and you realize, oh, wow, I had so much time then. Really, it's all about perspective. But, you know, as a kid, you come home and you just kind of want to like play and, you know, drop the bag from school and do anything but like hobby time. You just want to do all kinds of other stuff. And so, you know, for me, that's been the most challenging thing as an adult, is just saying, no, I am going to do this. I am going to devote time to practicing every day. So I would say that's probably been the biggest challenge for me, honestly. You know, at the time that I signed up for lessons, I didn't have a consistent work schedule. And they were so kind and worked with me to be able to do lessons different days of the week. So if I worked on a Monday one week, but I didn't work on a Monday the next week, my teacher was so flexible and willing to bounce around days with me however it worked. And I was so appreciative of her. She was so great. And I thank her for that. So yeah, it really helps that I had a very accommodating teacher as well. So, but those were the highs and the lows, I would say. Benefits, I would say, I've seen a lot of people say, as a kid, you can just absorb everything so much faster. And I did not find too much of a challenge to pick it back up, but I think it's because I still remembered that foundation that was given to me in that first year. And so I would say it didn't take too long to kind of hop back into that piano mindset and gear. And even my teacher did tell me that as well. She was like, yeah, so it actually helps that you've had some of this before. And I will also say a lot of like the reading music, I was in choir for most of high school, and we had a choir teacher that did teach us how to sight read. So that was also very helpful when I started the piano lessons as well. So I had a little bit of a foundation to start with. So I would say for me, I did not have that issue. For me, it's always been the time constraint of being an adult and having, so many other various responsibilities. But like I said, it's just one of those things that you have to, in your mind, be determined and say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to play the piano. I'm going to learn the piano. So, and in itself, that has been the thing that has, I would say, made it a very rewarding process. Is I am an adult, and it's so cool to be able to go back to something and pick it back up. I would say this is probably something that a lot of people would say, oh, that's so cliche, but it is so true that you're not too old to do it again. You're not too old to pick something back up or to start a hobby. You can truly start at any point. And that's an encouraging word for you guys listening today. If maybe you're feeling that way about something that you left behind and have always pondered, should I pick it back up? The answer is you can. You can. So yeah, I would say that is my answer to my piano lessons and how they've been going. Thank you so much for asking me that. Yeah, I've quite enjoyed them. They've been so good. Currently, I'm not taking lessons over here. I have not been able to find the one yet, or the place where I shall go for lessons yet, which is fine. I'm okay with being patient. Fortunately, I was given a workbook, a volume 1 workbook that I still use to this day, that my teacher gave me before we moved. And I've been able to use a lot of what she's taught me and go through that work booklet. So I do have something to still work on for hopefully when I return back home. So yeah. But no, yeah, thank you so much for asking me that question. This smiley face is truly coming together so splendidly. I love it. There's something so cozy about the routine of it all. All right, let's talk as well about our next submission, which, this one was such a sweet response that I just, it overwhelms my heart. I love it so much. But this person wrote to me saying that they really enjoyed the talks that we had in the first episode of my faith, and that they really related to that. And so I thank you so much. Faith has been a big part. My Christianity has been a big part of my life, and I was so happy to share that in the first episode. And this person wanted to ask, do you have a favorite Bible verse? And I do. This Bible verse has been one that I have kept close to me for years, and I find particularly linked to. I've always loved this one. It's Galatians 6:9, and it's just an encouraging verse that says, hey, don't get tired of doing what is right, because at just the right time, you will reap a harvest of blessings if you don't give up. And I have always been encouraged by that verse. I think it's good encouragement to say, hey, things will get tough, things will get hard, but don't give up on doing the right thing. Keep steadfast, keep doing the right thing, keep doing the thing that's hard. I find that encouraging. And I also find it encouraging that it says at just the right time, I think oftentimes, especially with our faith, we have made up in our minds when is the right time. When is the right time? But the right time, the best time, will always be in God's time. And so, yeah, I always have found that to be super encouraging. And I hope that if you're listening today, maybe that encourages you as well. I would say go try and look that verse up and read it. I've always found it to be something that's very encouraging to me. So, yeah. This person also asked me, what's your favorite worship songs if you have one? Oh, now I'll be honest with you. A lot of the times when I get asked things like, what's your favorites? Oh, it's so hard for me to pick, because there's so many things that I enjoy about a variety of songs or movies or shows. It's so hard to pick a favorite for me, I will say a song that has been particularly close to me in the last few months has been What a God by So Worship. Beautiful song. The lyrics are truly they are so good. So if you've never heard that song, I do recommend going to listen. It's a beautiful song. But yeah, no, I like CC Winans and Elevation Worship in Maverick City as far as more modern worship goes. There's also probably a lot of older worship songs from the 90s and early 2000s that many people probably would not know that I grew up on, that I always, some days I just put that on YouTube and listen and reminisce. I'm like, oh man, I miss this song. It's such a good song, and we'll have those kind of jam out worship sessions in the car. And then as far as more radio listening music, Forrest Frank has some really great stuff to listen to in the car. He's got really good listening Christian music, that's just like a jam, good party stuff. So yeah, I would say, I hope that answers your question of at least some that I am currently listening to. But yeah, it's so hard to pick a favorite. So hard. Oh, now this next submission that someone put in our anonymous forum. You guys, these questions, they're so good. They're so good. Are you ready for this? This person asked, how do we balance looking ahead to the future and enjoying the here and now? Oh, wow. What a question, am I right? To this anonymous viewer, I do not know what your beliefs are. And I would like to give advice from a place that I feel like has some great wisdom, and that is the Bible. Because this is something that I actually a couple years ago read about in a scripture, and I'd have to like go back and reconfirm exactly where it was that I read this in the Bible. But I believe it was a Proverbs actually, where it talks about those that may get stuck reminiscing in basically what is essentially the old good days, right? That you can't get stuck there, but you also can't get stuck in what may be happening tomorrow, right? And that really spoke to me. I don't think I was familiar with that Proverbs, and that really stuck with me because I find myself to be someone that loves nostalgia. And because I love nostalgia, sometimes my thoughts, my focus can be very saturated in what once was. And I think nostalgia is great. I think reminiscing is great. The yearning for some cherished memory or golden past that maybe you can't experience anymore, but you have that memory in your heart that gives you that fuzzy feeling. I think that is like a universal feeling that all of us have felt at some point. And it's great, and we love to do it. But the key is not getting stuck in it, right? And that's why that verse spoke to me so much, is because I feel like a person that sometimes I can be like that. I can get stuck on thinking about, oh yeah, but remember when, and remember when, and remember when. And I think the problem with that is that leaves me not recognizing the current blessings right in front of me. Like, what is God doing right now in this season of my life? And if I'm so focused on what he's done or on the past, am I going to miss what God is doing now because I'm just not paying attention? And so that was something that really spoke to me and really honestly convicted me when I read it. So I have tried to be better in my prayer life, particularly about thanking God of the now and really focusing on what he's done now. As far as what advice could I give to you on balancing looking ahead but also enjoying the here and now, I would say the best advice probably comes from the words of Jesus himself when he preached his sermon in the New Testament, where he mentions that, do the birds worry about what they'll eat for tomorrow? No, they don't. So why should we? Why should we worry about tomorrow? For today's worries are enough for what they are today. And I think that's a really encouraging word and could apply to anyone listening today, because if we are so focused on what troubles us ahead, how can we accomplish what must lie for us today, And so I think it's important to stay in the mindset and be prayerful of today, and believing and having faith that God will meet us at whatever lies ahead. It is a mindset, I feel, that you can bring yourself to through thought process, but also in prayer as well. Really focusing and praying on today instead of just what's ahead in 2 weeks and what's happening in a year from now, which is so so crazy that we do that. We can get very caught up in future. So I think thinking through that may help you a little bit more to enjoy the here and now, right? To be grateful for where God has you in this season of your life. And I think that is my advice to you today. And I hope that is helpful to you. I definitely recommend going to read that portion. And I think it's in Matthew. I'd have to go back and check where Jesus talks about that. But it's a great passage, very encouraging. And the Proverbs one as well. If anything, I'll try and link them in the description of this video for you if you're listening, and maybe you can see exactly what I'm referring to. But yeah, thank you so much for asking. Those are some very deep questions. And we're actually finishing up right here on our very first design of this episode. Look at that. Ugh, so satisfying. He's happy just like all of us that it's fall. Oh, and there comes the replay. Man, that's so satisfying to see it come all filled in. Nice. Let's see what other fall designs that could possibly be done today. Let's see what else we got. Oh, a leaf. Oh, we should definitely do the leaf. Oh, it's a green leaf, but that's okay. The leaves have not changed here yet. Still matches the season though, no? All right. Ooh, that's a very nice green color. Our next submission asked, what's a game you've streamed that was even better than you expected? Ooh, and what's a game you've streamed that didn't live up to the hype? Oh my. Okay. Oh my. Better than I've expected, and one that didn't live up to its hype. I will say I did have one game that I played that it was called Europa, and it was supposed to be like this adventure game where you go explore this very magical, out of this world realm. And unfortunately, although the trailer and the very beginnings of the game seemed like it was going to be this very grand storytelling adventure, it actually ended up being a big miss in the storyline, and the story itself did not seem to link together and tell as grand of a story as it really set the player up to believe that it was going to do. And so I feel like that would be my answer for that one. Yeah, it just felt like it didn't live up to the hype that it was trying to egg on to the player that it was going to live on to. So it was a visually stunning game, and it was fun to maneuver around inside the game. But yeah, no, it definitely did not end up being what I thought it would be, nor the people that joined the stream. I think everyone was a little bit like, oh. So I think that would be my answer for that one. Now, a game that was better than I expected, oh gosh, I have so many. And that's just because there are so many games that you're like, yeah, it's going to go like this. And then you play them and they gut you with story and emotion, and they're just wonderfully beautiful storytelling games. But I think one that I will put out there at the forefront is Spiral. And it's one that I will always tell people about because I think the team that made it, I feel their heart behind the game that they have created, and believe that they have done a wonderful job at putting their heart out there and creating something that really tells a unique and beautiful story. Spiral is about the story of somebody who has been diagnosed with a neurocognitive disorder, and he is forgetting memories. And the whole concept of the game is that they want you to not just see the disease, but they want you to see the person behind it. And so the game takes you on the story of this person. His name is Bernard, and you start his entire story from childhood until old age, where he has been diagnosed with this disorder, and you're basically living out his memories. It's called Spiral because you're going down a spiral staircase of memories. And so it was a lovely and just gorgeous game. I mean, I just could not believe that I got to play something that was such a heartfelt game. So I would recommend it if you're listening to check it out. Oh, that was so satisfying to do the leaf. Makes me want to go hunting for a leaf myself. You know, I was traveling the other day down the highway, and I noticed we had very many, it was quite a few types of trees and bushes alongside the highway that had completely changed colors or were in the middle of changing. And there were, I counted at least 4 or 5 different types, and I was like, what is happening? I feel like I don't quite normally see this. So I thought that was interesting. They were a bright, beautiful red and orange color. So for our next one, I think it would be so fun if we did New York. Wouldn't that be a fun, cozy, stringing project to do New York for fall? I do think of New York when I think of fall. Oh, wow. Oh, this is going to be fun. It's like the whole landscape. Wow. Okay. Let's get started. But yes, I do think of New York when I think of fall. You know, my friend Tori lives in New York and has given me lots of fun information about apple orchids that are in New York. And I am quite jealous. We do not have any of that here. I wish we did, but would love to go visit one day. I think that would be fun. This next submission is thoughts on Disney and similar companies constantly remaking movies. Example, all the live action remakes and or adding sequels, Toy Story, Shrek. Oh my, yeah. What are my thoughts? Well, it's difficult because we know, and it has been on record from these companies, and they say, yeah, we know that sequels and remakes make us money, so we're gonna keep doing that. And it's really hard as a consumer to hear those words, because you know that what you're participating in is exactly what they know you will participate in. So I hate to be a consumer of something that I feel like is purposely created to get my money. And then in other words, I feel so attached to these sequels and such because I grew up on a lot of them, and I think that's how they get you, you know. They know that you grew up and that you have memories attached to this and that you love the franchise, and that even though it may not be something that you think is well produced or made, you're probably still going to watch it at some point because you're attached, and they know this. So, you know, I would say those are my like super quick thoughts on it. On a deeper note, I do feel that a lot of the remakes have not lived up to the originals. Most of them don't. only a handful of remakes I watched and I was like, okay, that was pretty good. I like that. But most of the time I watch the remakes and I'm not too impressed. There have been just a few times where sequels were made and I thought, yeah, that was so good, you know? I don't know if another Toy Story or another Shrek needs to exist, you know? Those are things in my mind where I'm like, it's just, I feel like those are movies that, you know, I don't know. Like, I think we've had good storylines. I don't know if we need to keep them going. And as you can see, a lot of the internet world, when they announce these sequels and these remakes, a lot of people have feelings when you know, animation styles change. Like, I know when Shrek started getting advertised, people were very upset at the animation style of the new characters, and to be honest with you, I didn't like it either. I thought they looked too blocky, almost too cartoonish than what they had before. And this is the same story with Sonic. I actually have never seen the live action of Sonic. But I have heard that basically when they announced it and showed promo of it, the fans did not like it, and so the company pushed the movie date back and they reanimated everything, and that just blows my mind. And I think that actually is happening with Shrek, because they announced that they are pushing back the release date 6 months. So, you know, it's all very interesting. I feel the same way about, you know, they're trying to remake Harry Potter into a TV series on HBO, and they've released some things here in the last few months, and I have not checked to see if this was an actual quote from Christopher Columbus. Chris Columbus. It may not be. But as the first director of the Harry Potter couple of movies, there was some quote that I saw on social media where basically he was like, yeah, I don't know why they're having to basically do what we did. I don't know why that's necessary. In regards to Hagrid's outfit and costume, it's like the exact same, almost replica that they had created in the first movie. But it does feel that way sometimes. It does feel like, you know, are we running out of good ideas? Are we not able to tell any new stories anymore? Are all the stories we tell the same stories but in different ways? It's interesting to think about. But as someone that, I would say I've watched most remakes or sequels, because unfortunately I am a consumer of these company traps, because I am genuinely curious to know, well, what does happen? What happens in this franchise world? Will all the characters still be there? Like, what's their story? I have not been super, super blown away by most of them. So I guess that's my thoughts. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I know there are a lot of strong feelings about the remake sequel world. So I'd be curious to know in the comments below how you feel as well. But yeah. And this next submission too is actually quite interesting, because it kind of almost goes in the same movie vein. Maybe it was submitted by the same person, but this person asked, is there a villain you sympathize with in a game or a movie? Not necessarily condone what they've done, but you either understand it or wish there was some way for them to succeed. Oh, wow. That is so complicated. Oh my goodness. Let me think here. Yeah, complicated because I'll tell you this. Let me give you a snippet of how I feel about villains lately in movies. You know, villains, I feel like in the more classic movies that have been produced by, say, Disney, for example, the villains were just evil because they were evil, right? They were just meant to be evil. And then at some point, and this is interesting, I had this conversation with a good friend of mine, there was this shift where villains now needed backstory, and now they need some kind of story to make you kind of sympathize with them, right? And you know, that's interesting. I sometimes just miss the stories where villains were just bad to be bad, you know? They were just evil because they were evil. And yeah, I mean, I don't think I particularly have always needed a reason to know why someone became evil. I just believed, oh, that's the bad guy, you know, that's the evil person. So that's just my kind of tidbit of information about villains in movies. But a villain I sympathize with, oh goodness, this is so hard. A villain I sympathize with. Yeah. Okay. Maybe I have one, but this is just because this is the most recent example of a movie where there was, I suppose, technically supposed to be the villain character, is Encanto. Anaí and I watched Encanto, I can't remember how long ago this was, probably about 2 months ago. And you know, I did have that moment where I felt for the grandmother. The grandmother is supposed to be I suppose, like the opposing person in this movie. And interestingly enough, they do give you a little bit of backstory as to why is this character the way that she is, which I will say probably in this movie, because so little of her story was told, I guess they kind of had to give you that backstory. But I actually did end up feeling for her, because I think that it reflected a lot of real human action. Because I think there are a lot of people out here in the world that they try and make efforts and decisions that end up not being productive, like, or beneficial like they think they will be. And in her case, I genuinely think that she thought in her mind that she was doing what was best to keep her family together. And as someone who almost had their family ripped apart, then I can see why in her actions she may have been a lot more brash to keep everything a certain way, a lot more rigid to keep everything a certain way, because she was just so afraid to lose her family. And ironically, and why I say that I think this character reflected a lot of human, just natural human action, the thing that she was trying to avoid, she ended up doing because of her actions. So I don't know, I think that as far as a villain goes, I did sympathize with her, because I was like, wow, that's really real, you know? I feel like as people, we do that a lot. We're so in fear of causing X, Y, and Z to happen that we try and fix it. by doing something, and then that something that we did to try and fix it ended up being the thing that actually pushed us to the thing we didn't want. But a lot of the times I think that comes from, are we clearly communicating our fears and being open and vulnerable with the people that we love? Something that is such a hard thing to do, but if we do it, how much hurt would that save our hearts and those that we love around us? So I think in a way I did sympathize with the grandmother in that movie. Honestly, I did. I obviously would not condone the way that she acted sometimes towards her family members or Mirabel. But yeah, I did have a moment of sympathy for her in this second rewatch of Encanto. So yeah, and then other than that, I don't know if I can think of another one per se. Actually, I'll be honest with you, that question made me think of lots of movie villains that I absolutely did not have sympathy with and that I did not condone or sympathize with anything that they did. But yeah, good question though. I'd be so curious to know what some of your thoughts are below. There's probably so many movies too that I'm just not thinking of. Oh, this is turning into the Statue of Liberty. I love it. I can't wait to see the finished product on this one. I can tell this one's going to be like a very grand, big one. All right. Let's talk about the next submission, which is also one that I find very interesting. I'm very excited to talk about. And that is, do you use any personality typing systems? Myers-Briggs, Enneagram, DISC? If so, which ones and what are your types? I have taken the DISC assessment, but I, honestly speaking, cannot remember that one. I took that one probably about 3 years ago, and I can't remember what mine was. I'm so sorry, but the other two I can definitely answer for you. For Myers-Briggs, I am an ENFJ. And for Enneagram, I am a type 2. For Hogwarts House, I am a Hufflepuff. And I think that's all of them that I can think of. But yeah, no, so Myers-Briggs I actually did in high school, and I've taken it again since. I've never changed. I've always been the same. I don't think my Hogwarts house will ever change. Like those are all just very, very me. Yeah, and it's interesting actually. Anaí is almost the same Myers-Briggs, almost. She is an INFJ. So where I am extroverted, she is introverted. So it's interesting. We figured that out when we were dating, and so it's interesting to see how our personalities intertwine. Oh, look at that. It's so much bigger than what I thought it was. Whoa. I don't think I realized too that I was making like a shadow as well. It had like a 4 front buildings and then like the background. Oh, I love it. Beautiful. Oh, that was so fun to do together. But yeah, no. Let me see if I can look real quick at the ENFJ Myers-Briggs, because if you have ever taken it before on the 16personalities.com website, that is a very fun website to check out, because it will tell you a very in-depth breakthrough of your personality. As the ENFJ, my title for my personality is called the protagonist, and it's really cool too, because they'll actually give you some real life examples of other people who are ENFJs. So I was going to tell you guys, pull up and tell you guys who they are. Now, I don't know all of these people. You may know them. They're from movies and books. So these are other possible ENFJs out there. Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, John Cusack, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lawrence, Sean Connery, Maya Angelou, Elizabeth Bennet, The Oracle, Skylar White, Laurel Lance, Isobel Crawley, Celie Booth. So some of those were like TV, book characters, just different stuff. But it's really fun. Yeah, if you've never checked that out, 16 Personalities, it'll tell you all about it. And then Enneagram Type 2, my cousin was really into the Enneagram and like helping people like find like what their Enneagram type was. And honestly, Enneagram Type 2 was without a doubt, without a question, like that was going to be me. I don't know if I know my wing. I think if I understand it right, the Enneagram was like whatever number you are, whatever number comes in between those numbers is your wing. Like either you're a 2, it's like a Type 2, like Enneagram 2, wing 1 or wing 3. I am not sure what my wing is. I have no idea, but I know that I am a Type 2. So yeah. Type 2s unite. All right, let's go on to our next gallery and see if we have anything fall related. I think I saw a couple things that I was like, oh, that would be so fun to do. I think it was the windmill. I don't know. For whatever reason, to me, a windmill was like, oh, that would be so fun to do. Kind of fall, you know. And then we have 2 more, I believe. Let's see. Oh, this one. So this one I wouldn't say that I totally answered this one in the first episode. I had a submission of someone that said, how did you meet your wife and how did you know she was the one? So I'll kind of briefly touch on the meeting part because I think that I may have given some details about that in the first episode. But we actually met at church, and now I'm doubting if I told this story or not in the first episode. So what I'll do is I'll tell this story, and then I'll go back and look at episode 1, and if I did not tell this story, I'll leave it in, and then if I did, I'll cut it out. But basically, my wife immigrated here from Mexico when she was at the age of 12 or 11. So she spent all of her childhood growing up in Mexico, and then her family immigrated here. And they had some family and friends that they knew that lived in Louisiana, and they moved here. And interestingly, her parents were actually at our local mall, and they were sitting down at a bench. I actually don't think I told this story, so I don't think I told this story. They were sitting down at a bench, and they were talking in Spanish about this baby that they thought was so cute. They're like, oh, that baby is so beautiful, has big, beautiful blue eyes, because there was a man next to them sitting on the bench. Well, the man, and for context, because this is necessary to the story, he was like a Caucasian American looking man. He actually turned to them and started speaking in Spanish. I was like, oh, thank you, this is my baby. And her parents were like, oh, they were like shocked because nobody there, like no American person that they had met spoke Spanish. So they just were shocked that, oh, this person speaks Spanish. So they ended up chatting and getting to know each other. And the guy that they met was actually the assistant pastor of the church that I went to. His dad was a Guatemalan missionary, and so this guy that looked like like a Caucasian American person sitting on the bench, knew fluent Spanish, was lived in Guatemala with his parents for many, many years. And so they ended up having this whole conversation, and he invited them to our church. And so they came, and that was actually how I met Anaí, was her visiting and coming to the church that my family and I went to. And so it's actually interesting because it was not one of those meetings where, you know, you see someone and it's like love at first sight and like you just know they're the one right then and there. It wasn't that. It was actually just, you know, we were just friends first, and I don't really know if there was a specific moment per se. And maybe there was, I guess, technically, and I'll try not to like retell this because I do know that I did mention this in the first episode, but we just started hanging out more. We started becoming closer and closer and closer as our friendship grew and became more intertwined. And basically, at some point, there was this guy that was trying to score a date with Anaí, and at one point this guy called while we were together hanging out, walking outside, and she answered it. Just kind of like talked to him, didn't really like confirm or, you know, like set anything up or anything, but then she got off the phone and I was like visibly upset about the phone call. My demeanor had changed, and I remember we had a conversation about it, and I was like, yeah, you know, I don't know, like I didn't like that. And she's like, why didn't you like that? And we ended up having like a 4-hour conversation that day. For the rest of the day, I was like, I think I didn't like that because I like you. And then from there, it just was like a whole conversation, and basically admitting to each other like, oh, I think we have feelings for each other. I think we like each other. I think that's why we are always hanging out. And from there, it just never stopped. And I think after that conversation, we ended up dating, and when we started dating, things just clicked. We were like, yeah, we are meant for each other. We're so different, and yet our friendship pulls us together and makes so much sense. And I think that's how I knew. I was like, something about this just makes perfect sense. And you guys would probably think to yourself and be like, what? That's so crazy. But I remember when I was 16, you can ask Anaí about this because she'll be like, I did not know what to think when Carter was saying things like this. But I remember telling Anaí when I was 16 years old, I was like, yeah, we're gonna get married one day. I'm gonna marry you. And she was like, what? I was like, yeah, that's just what's gonna happen because you are the one. And then we did, and we've been together for going on 11 years in April. So it was just meant to be. It was just meant to be. So I hope that answers your question of how I knew she was the one, how we kind of like became to be. Not as completely straightforward as I'm sure other stories have gone. And then tonight's last submission is actually a very interesting one, asking for advice on streaming and content creation. So this person shared and said, I'm a Twitch affiliate, and in the past 10 months, I haven't gotten a single sub to my channel. I would never want people to feel pressure to essentially give money, so I've tried and failed to advertise my subs in other ways, such as having an automated message during my streams that lists the extra perks I want to do for my hopefully future subs. I pop my sub-only emotes into the chat sometimes, thinking maybe it will intrigue people to explore becoming a sub. And not only that, but I'm the only person in my chat who ever uses my channel emotes, even the free follower ones. I also try to pop those in to encourage people to follow, but for some reason my community just doesn't. If I'm being honest, it makes me feel like I'm not good at this when I pop into everyone else's streams and they have a whole community of subs and hype trains and bits, even people who are newer than me. I feel like I'm not interesting enough for people to want to invest in my channel's fun perks. I'm always the one who never gets any hype trains, no one gives people subs to my channel, etc. Do you have any advice from someone who has an entire awesome community on ways that I can build my own awesome community and also maybe get the word out about my subs without pressuring people? I'm extremely grateful to people who follow me and don't want people to feel like I'm not thankful for their support. Yeah, so that one's a really a good question. And yeah, I want to kind of dive into this one, I think. Well, I'll say all of this upfront information stuff first that I think is really important that I want to say first. First, I think you should always be yourself. In my honest opinion, there are a lot of people that stream, and I can always tell when I feel like they are absorbing what other mainstream people on the internet are doing, and it just never feels genuine. And so I think that's an important encouragement that I can give anyone that streams is always do your own thing, like be yourself. Because streaming should always be authentic to what you like and who you are. You know, I see a lot now that streamers, they all stream the same games, the same types of games, you know, like, for example, I'll give you an example. I don't like horror games. I'm not into them. I don't watch them. I don't buy them. I don't play them. I never will be because I'm just not into that genre. But there is a huge, vast world of horror games and people that enjoy them. However, I feel like I see a lot of people stream them, even if that's not their vibe or game genre that they like, just for the sake of appeasing people that do. And to me, that is something that I don't want to do. I've been guilty of it before, and I've tried to venture out and do things that weren't me. But at the end of the day, that never works. It's always important to just do what you love, especially because if you try to venture out to things that are not of you in an effort to garner people into a community that you're creating, then the community will not be linked to your taste. It will always be curated to what you have created. And so you will always have this expectation upon you to keep creating content that you never even liked in the first place. So for me, I like to do a lot of nostalgic games, like Diner Dash kind of time management stuff, which is not something that would probably be considered in the streaming world a popular game to stream, just because of the nature of it. It doesn't have this storyline. It's not this super fun, entertaining story. It's very repetitive, but I like it. I enjoy it. So I'm going to keep streaming it. So that's like my spiel about being yourself in the streaming world. I know you mentioned in there, you like, yeah, I feel like sometimes I'm not interesting enough, but let me tell you something. You are. There are people out there in the world that appreciate you for who you are. So no, don't say that. You are. It's just a matter of finding that community, and that will come in its time. As far as subs go, that one's also that one's a tricky one, you know, because I'll say it like this. there are lots of things begging people for subscriptions. You know, everything that is out there in the world now is subscription based. I remember when you could download an app and you could just have it. You didn't have to pay for it. And if you did have to pay for it, it was only 99 cents. Now some of these apps are like $5.99 or $6.99, and then they want you to pay like a monthly subscription to use that app. And so it's not a personal thing. I would say most of the time it's not a personal thing. So don't beat yourself up if you're not getting subs. Just remember that in a world of subscriptions, it's going to be a lot harder to not just convince people to subscribe, but just to receive a subscription. So try not to take it too to heart and beat yourself up over it, because you probably make really great stuff. It's just that the community and area is probably oversaturated in people being asked to subscribe to stuff. So for me personally, I just about almost have never ever pushed subscriptions. Because for me, if I was someone else out as an individual in the world, I try and think about what would I like or dislike, and I would not want to be pushed to subscribe to something. So I just don't make mention of it on my channel. For me, it's a thing where if someone does subscribe, they subscribe. If they don't, they don't. Some people subscribe for a month and then they never do it again. Some people routinely subscribe. And I appreciate them for it. And I try and show my gratitude for that. By, like what you mentioned, having the custom emotes. And I actually just this week wrote some cards out to some regular subscribers. But I think that that's a piece of advice maybe to consider and factor into things when you're thinking about it. If you're feeling down about it, is just know that this is a subscription heavy based world, and it's going to be harder for people to make that jump. Especially too, I would say, these are anonymous submissions, so I don't know the basis of your content, but especially in consideration to, what's your streaming schedule like? Some people may have to weigh if a subscription for a month is worth it. If you're maybe not streaming very often, they may go, oh, well, I can handle a few ads in between streams for a little bit, because I don't have time to join every stream. So it's not worth their time to subscribe. Or if the streamer is only streaming once a week, maybe that they view that and they go, oh, it's not often enough for me to justify subscribing. So I think that there's lots of reasons that somebody else may subscribe, and not just because you are the problem. So I don't want you to leave this conversation and going, oh, it's just me. I'm just not interesting enough for people to like or to want to subscribe to. I think that is a very easy thing to tell yourself and slip into. So I don't want you to do that. My best encouragement is to just keep going. If this is something that you really love, and I'm talking more about the community aspect and the streaming aspect, if that's something that you really love, then just keep going, because with time it comes. With time it comes. Yeah, you can't force it. You just can't. It's not one of those things that can be forced. It just comes with time. And I would also recommend finding what your niche community is. For me, I started with Nancy Drew, and I've gotten to kind of grow that and expand upon that a little bit to nostalgia-based things, old point-and-click games, nostalgic computer lab games, and just other factors and things that I enjoy that are me. And so what is it that you love in your life? What hobbies do you like? And let whatever content you put out be solely you, because people will enjoy that because they will like that it's you. So I hope that is helpful to you. because that would probably be my best advice for someone that would ask me that. And we're coming up here on the end with our windmill. I love it. I could just totally see that in a nice rolling autumn hills. Just a windmill. That was so fun and cozy to do. Well, my friends, that was the end of Ask Carter episode 2. And what a pleasure it was answering your questions. I always enjoy viewing your submissions. They always take me aback because your questions are always so deep. They have so much substance and richness to them. And every time I read them, I'm always thrown for a loop, which I think I made that joke last time, but it's true. I'm always thrown for a loop because I have to really give a lot of thought and consideration to your questions. So thank you so much for asking what you ask and for caring enough to want to know my advice. It's very humbling, and I hope you know that I give it with all of my heart. Every time that I answer a question, I try and give it all my honesty, all my love. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode and that you are enjoying the new season. Bake something, do a fun hobby or activity with someone that you love, and enjoy the newness of this season. I hope you guys have a wonderful, lovely rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you're listening. And thank you for asking Carter. Bye, you guys.